Yeah, that's right. You know, we've been tracking this story ever since Modi touched down to take off. Of course, he has now left Washington, D.C., but quite an eventful trip here as Prime Minister Modi met for the very first time U.S. President Donald Trump in the White House yesterday. In fact, I also want to quickly show you this. This is the front page of the Wall Street Journal. You can see a picture there of both Modi and Trump embracing each other. In fact, the headline reads, "Trump and India's Modi grapple with division, embrace ties." In fact, that's the only mention of that. There was a short article on page 8 of the Wall Street Journal. The rest of the headlines focuses on the travel ban as well as the healthcare bill. So it really goes to show that U.S. domestic policy really taking precedence here. Not much media coverage with regards to Modi's trip. That being said, they did talk yesterday. They were there for several hours in the White House. Earlier on Monday, Modi did meet with the Secretary of Defense as well as the Secretary of State, talking about defense partnerships, drones, as well as the position in Afghanistan. When we were in the White House, when we got a chance to listen to both Modi and Trump up close, it was really a mood of hope, a little bit of a laughter in the crowd as well. Trump making a few jokes about trying to increase the price. They did embrace each other. They hugged each other. They talked about the cooperation, how important it is for the United States and India to become partners in fighting global terrorism. They also emphasized trade deficits and removing those barriers of trade so that companies can work together. Trump also pushed for more importance when it came to American natural gas and energy. So quite a host of issues that were addressed. Not a whole lot of topics talked about the H-1B visas as well as the anti-immigrant stand. So let's dive right into the conversation and read into this. Joining me now live here outside of the U.S. Supreme Court and blocks away from the Capitol in Washington, D.C., I'm joined by Mr. Shalabh Kumar, the founder of the Republican Hindu Coalition. Mr. Kumar, thank you so much for joining us. Our pleasure to have you on the show on WION yet again. How do you read the conversation between Modi and Trump? The first time the two world leaders met face to face, how do you think it went?
I think it went great. It's a great start of a personal friendship between the two. They both know each other well. President Trump has studied his Modi and his key advisors, particularly Steve Bannon, knows Modi, has studied Modi really well. And I think this is a start of a great friendship, camaraderie, and a great relationship between U.S. and India.
What do you think about the conversation specifically? They didn't really touch on a whole lot of topics that were assumed to possibly talk about, but we also have to put things into perspective that they only had, a few hours in the White House, one-on-one, face-to-face, things like H-1B and jobs, but they did address on other key issues like terrorism and trade. How important do you think these dialogues will be going forward as India and U.S. continue to solidify their relationship?
That'll be very important. As I've said before, this was not supposed to be a policy summit. This was just to get the two leaders to get to know each other. And that was the whole purpose of this particular meeting. Actually, it went quite a bit further than what I thought it would. And even though not very specific programs were talked about, but a baseline has been set up. Anticipation is there to increase the U.S.-India trade to a much higher level. Now, your viewers probably may or may not realize that the liquid natural gas, LNG, we talked about, President Trump talked about, that has been forbidden for a number of years. That is, U.S. companies are not allowed to sell LNG, and that has to go through Congress. That's one thing. For example, the second thing is advanced defense equipment. That is not allowed to be sold to India because from the older policies, India is still considered to be a Soviet ally, even though Soviet Union is not there. And Pakistan is considered to be an American ally, even though geopolitics has altogether changed, but the laws are still the same. And we are standing here right in front of Capitol Hill, and it's important to know that all these things have to be approved by the Congress. Now, previously, the Republican-controlled Congress was always in favor of increasing the trade between our two countries. That is on LNG, defense, technology, agriculture products, and all that. However, we were not getting too much support from the executive branch, that is President Obama in particular. So here, this time, President Trump has embraced India, as he said on the Republican Hindu Coalition rally on October 15th, New Jersey.
Right.
And then they have constantly referred to that particular statement that if elected, he said at that time, if elected, U.S. and India will be best friends.
Right, you'll have a true friend in the White House.
That's right. And all those promises which President Trump has made throughout the campaign, he has kept on all different fronts, including the U.S.-India relationship. So this is just a tiny start and a relationship establishment, and going forward, it is going to be great. Now, U.S. In a way is celebrating the $400 billion deal with Saudi Arabia. That is over the next decade. It's anticipated that it will be $400 billion total. That's how they measure everything in the United States. Let's look at its impact for the next 10 years. Whereas with India, that particular deal, if you look at the size of that, is 10 times bigger. So we could have a trade deal of $4 trillion between U.S. and India in the next decade. A lot of barriers to that was addressed yesterday between the two leaders. That is, trade barriers exist, artificial barriers exist. Some are really true barriers. That is legislative barriers I've talked about that the Congress has to fix with the support of the president and for the asking from the president. And on the other hand, there are a lot of trade barriers which India has to fix. That is the customs duties and so forth, and protection of intellectual property, and on issues there. So there is a big potential of an increase in trade, and I'm sure with the right teams in place. Right now it's kind of a little early. The Trump administration is not fully set yet. Not all the positions are filled.
Right.
So as when the Trump administration is fully functional, and then you'll see the trade flow in volumes.
Hopefully increase. Let me also ask you about the chemistry between the two leaders. They both talked about being really active on social media. In fact, Donald Trump says we are world leaders on social media. Trump 30 followed 30. They also joked a little bit of banter between the two of them, as well as mention of Trump's daughter Ivanka Trump, who Modi has invited now for a global entrepreneurial summit in India, which of course Ivanka Trump did admit. What can we read into that? Body language, the original hug, then the handshake earlier on, the chemistry between the two leaders in terms of who really dominated perhaps the conversation, or how their chemistry was between Trump and Modi.
We don't know exactly what the two said to each other when they first met. It might be, I'm speculating right now, don't know for sure, but President Trump might have spoken 3 additional words of Hindi besides "Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar greets Ab ki baar Modi Sarkar." So that could be the joke when people are talking about. So there's to ease the atmosphere and to lighten up the atmosphere. That's always necessary. Now, India's Prime Minister Modi is a terrific marketeer. When a Chinese president came here, and it's well known now that Ivanka's children are learning Chinese. So Prime Minister Modi cannot be left behind.
He might make them learn Hindi, right?
He might make them learn Hindi, invite them to India, particularly maybe get them in Bollywood. So
We'll have
that's
to wait and watch to see how that relationship goes forward. But thank you, Mr. Kumar. We appreciate those insights. Thank you for sharing us your perspective. And that does it here as we wrap things up here in Washington, D.C. From touchdown to takeoff, getting you all angles and all perspectives. Of course, Trump did say that he was very thrilled when an Indian Airlines purchased more than 100 flights. They're really talking strongly about the economic points, the trade barriers to be removed, as well as how important India is in dealing with North Korea as well as Afghanistan. So touching on foreign policy as well. So the dialogue started. It is now in the history books, both India and the U.S. Trump and Modi meeting face-to-face after many phone conversations. Reporting live in Washington, D.C., outside of the Supreme Court, Archith Seshadri, WION.
Archith, before we let your guest go, Archith, I want to come in quickly and ask him a couple of questions. One, Mr. Kumar mentioned about how President Donald Trump studied Modi very well. What might be some of the personality traits or attributes of Prime Minister Modi that might have caught the attention of people such as Steve Bannon, for instance? Also, how likely is it, what is he picking up about the invitation to the Trump family to visit India? Could it be that we could see them as early as 26 January next year as the chief guest for the Republic Day parade? We have a slight time delay in the connection with Archith and hope to have Archith online soon. So do bear with us while we wait for Archith to come in.
All right, let me ask those questions to Mr. Shalabh Kumar before we let him go. Mr. Shalabh Kumar, we also wanted to have a quick follow-up question with you. Ramesh wanted to ask you about the situation. The two questions are, what was it about Modi's personality that perhaps Donald Trump was able to sort of pick up? What was it about Modi's personality that maybe have attracted Trump to have those conversations? And second of all, the invitation that Modi extended to the Trump family to India, could we perhaps see them next year during Republic Day? Could we, how soon could we see those relationships sort of going forward? And a Trump America versus an Obama America, how similar or how different do we expect that to be?
The press expects instant things. If you think that President Trump, just seeing Prime Minister Modi, instantly reacted to that, it's a little too much. That's not the case. Here, President Trump started to get educated on Prime Minister Modi on July 9th, 2016, in my first meeting with President Trump, at that time candidate Trump. So extensive conversation on India, all the policies that need to be changed from the Barack Obama administration, as well as who Prime Minister Modi is, where he comes from, what are his accomplishments, and where he wants to have this relationship between U.S. and India go, what is the future prospects. So there is, let's say it's almost a year since July 9th last year.
Right.
So, he has a lot of time to study. So, you already...
He's done his homework, in your opinion.
Both sides have done the homework, and they've talked 3 times. And Steve Bannon is quite an expert on India, by the way. He's an avid reader of Gita. And so, it's the work has been already done, and so it's not that you are seeing a person and just it's a stranger. It's no stranger at all. And both of them have quite a warm personality, great media personality. Both of them, they
know
love
how to play the media card well.
That's right. So automatically it gels well together. And second, with respect to when they would come, it really, when the Trump family will visit India, that is still to be seen. There are a lot of items on the domestic agenda here.
Sure.
Now, the 2 major things which need to get solved in the United States, one is the replacement of Obamacare, and second is the tax bill.
Right.
Hopefully everything will be done by October.
All right.
Once those things are done, then President Trump is free to concentrate on trade. worldwide.
All right, and more of the foreign policies, perhaps after those domestic issues are sorted out. Again, Mr. Kumar, thank you so much. We appreciate those inputs. That is the latest here. Not a whole lot of media coverage, but certainly it now is in the history books that Modi and Trump officially meeting face-to-face. Reporting live outside the Supreme Court, Archith, Seshadri, WION.